Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. Well, today I would like to go into the blind spots of the lines, or at least to pinpoint a few things. Because when we get our human design chart and we go, oh, well, look, I've got this and I've got that and I'm this and I'm that, and I can recognize that in myself. It's like, hey, this is fantastic. But then we often regard ourselves in a way, especially at the beginning, in a way like, I'm a brilliant being and everything is perfect. Well, that's true in a way, but there are blind spots, and it's important to bear in mind the blind spots. So I'm going to go through all the 6 lines. So this is going to cover all the profiles, and also you can think about the lines that you have in your chart. So if you watch to the end of the video, you're going to find out things about your profile and about yourself you may not have thought of. And I like it to be light-hearted, this one. So I'm going to start with the first line. And the first line is the investigative line. And it's the line really to dig deep. And first lines are great at that. They're the best at digging deep. But when you're digging deep and you're deep in your hole, investigating this and what's under that, and is that going to be important with the way this works, and you're really in it, you've got a limited perspective about other things. So first lines are, very good at what they've really dug into and become an expert in. But they can be blind to so many other areas in life. It doesn't occur to them. It doesn't occur to them some of the things that are most obvious to the other lines they can see, but the first line isn't looking there. They're looking at what they're focusing on. They're looking at their interest, their investigation, whatever that may be. And there's a whole lot of other things they just do not see. And in that regard, they can be very stupid. They can walk blindly into something without seeing what's actually in front of them, because they're actually only looking at certain things. If they can find where they're weak, if someone points it out, then if it's an issue, they can work at it, they can become strong at it. But if they don't see it, they don't see it, and that's it. It never occurs to them. And so that can be quite funny. Ra often took the mickey out of 1-3s because there's so many things we actually don't see because we're not looking there. So that's a blind spot for the first line. When we come to the second line builds its barriers. It wants to be in its own world. It's the hermit after all. And there is this side of the second line where there's a whole lot of things they don't want to be bothered with. There's a whole lot of things they don't want in their world. And they can be completely blind to things that are actually important. So suddenly there's this rug pulled out from under them that they never even thought could happen. It never occurred to them because they've been busy playing in their own world. So again, that's a kind of an unawareness that is built into the genetic structure of the second line. They don't want to go deep. It's not their interest. It's not their interest to be aware of everything that's out there. They're only interested in their own world, and therefore when the world suddenly comes up and bites them in the arse, it's like, whoa, I never saw that happening. I never knew there was a law about that. I never knew there was a whatever it may be. And suddenly they have to face a whole lot of learning that they really don't want to be bothered with. So blind spot in simply being unaware of what's outside. When you build a wall, you're blocking out some things that would be useful to know about. When you come to the third line, you come to the line of trial and error, bonds made and broken, and an adventurism in the third line. We go out there to see what we can discover. But if we're unprepared, all kinds of things can happen. I mean, when I think about my own third line life when I was in my teens and 20s, I don't know how I survived, So many close shaves, so many, almost complete disasters. And somehow I go bundling on through no matter what, bouncing back again. But yeah, it can create a lot of chaos. You know, if you're not prepared, you know, you take on something where you just, again, you're not aware of the full consequences of something until you've had the experience. And it takes time to have the experience. So a young third line can blunder into all kinds of things, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's just one of those blind spots. The adventure is too much. The difference is like too attractive for them to resist, and they've got to have a go. They've got to find out by trial and error what works and what doesn't work. One of my childhood friends as a third line was a wonderful example. His father was very practical, and he goes out there and he buys a house, and he goes, well, we're going to change the whole thing. We're going to, you know, he has this idea of what it's going to be, and he guts the whole place. You know, he takes out the floors, you know, it's just a shell of a house. And I remember seeing him around that time, and he was very depressed. And I said, well, what's happened? He said, I've gutted the whole house and I don't know what to do next. It's so huge, this task I've taken on. I just don't know where to start. You know, hopefully some fifth liners came in and gave him a hand. I don't know what happened. But it's that kind of thing. The third line can go so far, and it's like everything begins to fall down around them as they're ripping down the things. It's like, well, oh dear, what happens next? You see the enormity of the chaos that can be created. And some of those things that were torn down, of course, were really necessary for the structure of the building. So it just became a rather sorry story, I suspect. Anyway, I'm sure he learned. When we come to the fourth line is there for friendship. It's there for as the companion. It is there for the network. And it's really there for the opportunities for them also. And it's amazing to me when I see fourth line lives, how they can miss opportunities. I mean, they can take opportunities and they can jump from one step to another, or they can completely miss it. They can be blind to the opportunities that are right in front of them sometimes. The opportunities with a friend they knew who knew someone that might have been important for them, but they never found out, or they never took that step, or whatever it may be. So many opportunities are lost by the fourth line because of their fixedness. You know, they don't particularly want to change. You know, their change happens gradually through experience, but it's not natural. The fourth line wants to, you know, keep fixed with what they've received from the world. So quite often there's a lot of fixedness with early life traumas and connections and things that happened in the long past that have got them to lock down in a particular way. And for that reason, certain opportunities that they are very capable of taking and succeeding at, they end up just not going there. When you think about the fourth line in the early part of their life, they can be blind to the influence of their friends. In other words, they can hang out with the wrong crowd because they're friends. And in that sense, they can be pulled out of a path that's going to be useful to them. You know, friends are indeed opportunities for them, but there are also some people that they befriend when they're younger in life that aren't opportunities for them. In fact, get in the way of the opportunities for them to really grow as themselves. When we come to the fifth line, we come to the practical one, we come to the rebel, we come to the savior, and we come to the seducer. It is natural for the fifth line to seduce people into their thing, whatever it may be. It's just the way they are. But of course, people get pulled into their thing because of the power of the seduction, and then it all goes wrong. You know, it's not what they expected. So, you know, fifth lines can be blind to the other side of expectations, of the blaming that can come. I mean, they do learn, they have to learn, because they get a lot of things thrown at them that is completely irrelevant, but they do learn. But it is this power of seduction that pulls people off their own path into the path of the fifth line, and then the fifth line gets blamed for it. So, you know, without the practicality, usually fifth lines are practical, but I've also seen them to be very impractical sometimes as well. You know, so fifth lines are very transpersonal, and it is that very transpersonal aspect of them that can be so beneficial to people, but it can also have serious consequences for other people because they can be so good at the seduction, and that they may want the other to come in, but it may not be the right thing for the other. And in that sense, the fifth lines get blamed a hell of a lot. The sixth lines, now the sixth lines are the role model. The sixth lines are, you know, these people that have gone through these 3 different lives. You know, they've gone through the, up until 30, the very self-absorbed, subjective life. And then they go into more objectivity on the roof for 20 years, where they begin to see things in another perspective, to see the different perspectives of what's really they can trust or they can't trust. And then after Chiron, they go into this transcendent state. So the sixth lines carry with them this dream of perfection. They are dreamers. They will dream about, well, you know, the perfect relationship, the perfect job, the perfect place to live. They'll be looking at all the places where they would really love to be there, and the dream is real, you know, but it's actually not. It's not until after the sixth line gets through Chiron that the realism really comes in. And that's the point at where transcendence can come. So six lines can get caught in their own dream, you know, where they are the star of their own dream. And, you know, it doesn't really matter what other people think or say, because they are them, you know, they're here to be themselves. But at the same time, they can be blind to some of the realities of the world outside of the dream that they try to live. It's only when they really get that balance that they come to see that things are absolutely perfect the way they are. But the perfection of who they are also has to operate within the parameters of being in a body and being in a material world, which they often don't look at. So that's just a quick run through, a very quick video, just to give you a little taste of the fact that despite our progress through human design, despite learning more about ourselves, we must also be aware that at the genetic level, there are a lot of different blind spots that there's nothing we can do about, and that's just the way it is. So in my quick whiz through of the lines, you know, what does it say? It says that basically we need each other. You know, we need the dialogue between each other, between the other lines, between the other profiles, for other people to see where we are blind and to point it out, you know, to us, because we are all blind in some areas. We are all equal in that. We will all fall down the pit in some way or another. And it's very, very important for us to have the right people around us to inform us of what we need to know where we are blind. And so in that sense, it's a lovely message of both humility and interdependency. So make sure you got some good people around you. You need them and they need you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will be back again very soon with something completely different. Bye for now.